The only thing that is truly served as an anchor of the United States of America is that we have been, and by the grace of God, we always will be, a Christian nation. Only God can promise you salvation in heaven, but together we can fulfill the promise of the greatest nation in the history of the earth. Next month will be the official one-year anniversary of the Trump administration, and I am damn proud of our record so far. Now, the Democrats are already talking about 2028. And it looks like they're going to nominate a California liberal who's presided over rolling blackouts, open borders, and unchecked violent gangs. They're just trying to settle on whether it's going to be Gavin Newsom or Kamala Harris. And in the meantime, what are the Democrats offering you in the meantime? I gotta say, ladies and gentlemen, they are not sending their best. Omar Fateh was Ilhan Omar's candidate for mayor of Mogadishu. Minneapolis. Little Freudian slip there. The candidate for Senate in Maine for the Democrats calls me a Nazi, which is rich coming from a guy who literally has a Nazi tattoo on his chest. And Jasmine Crockett. Oh, Jasmine Crockett. The record speaks for itself. She wants to be a senator, though her street girl persona is about as real as her nails.
A few moments later.
And that is actually what they are fearful of, is my authenticity, because it rings true with every single American, whether they're a Texan or not. It rings true that I am fighting for real everyday people.
Why you always lying?
And instead of talking about policy, when you're talking about the record speaks for itself, baby, let's talk about your record. Because the only reason you're the vice president is because the current president tried to have his last president killed. Let's talk about qualifications.
What?
What you talking about, lady?
But ask yourself, what do all of these people have in common? And the unfortunate answer is they are puppets. They don't actually matter. They are cogs in a machine that wants to make you poorer, that wants to make you less powerful, and wants to make you less safe in the country your ancestors built. And while President Trump and I are doing everything we can to break that machine, the left is still there, my friends, and they are still very powerful. Don't delude yourselves. It's the activist groups who want to poison your kids with hormone replacement therapy and toxins in your water supply. It's the corporate boardrooms pushing diversity quotas while whining about the fact that Donald Trump won't let them ship American jobs overseas anymore, and boo-hoo to that. It's the rogue district judges who issued nationwide injunctions every time the president lifts a finger. It's the Soros DAs who cheered on as their cities burned. What unites them? They win when our country loses. They get rich when you get poorer. They hire the illegals that they bring in to take your jobs. They drink fine wine in the countries they ship your jobs to. They censor you because they'd rather destroy the Constitution than risk losing an argument. They bring in millions of voters because they know they can't win the argument with the people who are already here. And you know what else unites them? We are going to kick their ass next November and every year after that. Part of the American dream is the idea that we're all, every single one of us, on the same team. We're all part of the same American family. If you want to destroy that, do what Democrats have done, not just for the last 5 years, but for the last 30 or 40. Make one race the enemy of another. Make one gender the enemy of the other. Make Americans suspect and despise each other instead of loving their shared country. When I think about some of the most impassioned debates happening in our country, the nature of citizenship, of what it means to be an American, it all speaks to an obvious truth. Americans are hungry for identity. We're hungry for belonging. We're hungry for a sense of our place in the world. And it's no surprise why. For many years, our fellow Americans have been dealing with a globalized economy that homogenized cultures and hollowed out our towns. Academics and activists pushing race and gender politics down everyone's throat 24/7. Big tech overlords using their internet platforms to censor stories that challenge the dominant far-left narrative in our country. More than any time I can recount, people are talking about American identity and figuring out what it is that unites us. But I want to say something here. The only thing that is truly served as an anchor of the United States of America is that we have been, and by the grace of God, we always will be, a Christian nation. Now, I want to be explicit because, of course, the fake news media will twist everything that I say. I'm not saying, do you feel about them the same way I do? I'm not saying you have to be a Christian to be an American. I'm saying something simpler and truer. Christianity is America's creed. The shared moral language from the Revolution to the Civil War and beyond. Across that history, our country's major debates have always centered on how we could best as a people please God. That creed, think about it. That creed motivated our understanding of natural law and rights, our sense of duty to one's neighbor, the conviction that the strong must protect the weak, and the belief in individual conscience. Even our famously American idea of religious liberty is a Christian concept. Because we're all creatures of God, we must respect each individual's pathway to that God. But over the last 50 years, there has been a singular focus, a war that has been waged on Christians and Christianity in the United States of America. And let me say, of all the wars that Donald Trump has ended, that is the one we're proudest of. For decades, the left has labored to push Christianity out of national life. They've kicked it out of the schools, out of the workplace, out of the fundamental parts of the public square. Freedom of religion transformed into freedom from religion. And in a public square devoid of God, we got a vacuum. And the ideas that filled that void preyed on the very worst of human nature rather than uplifting it. They told us not that we were children of God, but children of this or that identity group. They replaced God's beautiful design for the family that men and women could rely on and turn to one another with the idea that men could turn into women so long as they brought the right bunch of pills from Big Pharma. They had all the religious fervor of a zealous convert without any of the grace or forgiveness of a true Christian. Scripture tells us, "By your fruits ye shall know them." And we might ask, What are the fruits of these people and their principles? And the answer is a man named Tyler Robinson who killed my friend. Think about it. He has everything that the far left want from our young men. He rejected the conservatism and the spirituality, the values of a small town family. He moved into a small apartment. He became addicted to porn. He became addicted to hate. And he ended up sleeping with somebody who doesn't know whether they're a man or a woman. That is the nightmare scenario, but that is the scenario that the left has actively advertised they want for American families. And the young men in the audience in particular. That is exactly why we have to fight them. Because the fruits of true Christianity are men like Charlie Kirk. The fruits of true Christianity are good husbands, patient fathers, builders of great things, and slayers of dragons. And yes, men who are willing to die for a principle if that's what God asks them to do. Because so many of us recognize that it is better to die a patriot than live a coward. I'm going to tell you something I haven't talked about publicly before, but in the days after Charlie's death, I struggled a great deal. I'm sure many of you did too. I remember watching every video of the assassination, looking for clues, trying to understand what happened. I tried to hide my friend and that terrible bullet hitting him, but I would try to look around. I stayed up all night for many nights in a row, researching every conspiracy theory, going down every rabbit hole. When my lovely wife, Usha, told me to come to bed, I told her I owed it to Charlie to try to uncover every stone, and so that's what I tried to do. I remember I was consumed by this fear that Charlie's death wouldn't just deprive a family of their husband or of a good father, but that it would deny our movement of a great unifier of people and a great doer of great deeds. It's the only time I can remember my wife ever telling me that she was really worried about me. She told me it many times. But what saved me was not lying to myself, but accepting the reality of the fight that we're in. Charlie's death was an immense loss, an irreplaceable loss. We got kicked in the teeth, my friends, and there's no sugarcoating it or pretending that it didn't happen. We need to accept that. And what saved me was realizing that the story of the Christian faith, like the story of these United States of America, is one of immense loss followed by even bigger victory. It's a story. It's a story of very dark nights followed by very bright dawns. What saved me was remembering the inherent goodness of God and that His grace overflows when we least expect it. Not long ago, I spent time at a Christian men's ministry just a couple of weeks ago. And here's what they do. They take men who struggle with addiction or homelessness and they help them get back on their feet. They feed them, they clothe them, they give them shelter and financial advice. They live out the very best part of Christ's commission. Now afterwards, I had lunch with 4 of these men. It was a couple of white guys, a Hispanic guy, and a black man. They had all struggled in their unique ways. Some had lost contact with their family, some of them for a very long time. Others were desperate to rebuild relationships with their kids so that they could see them on Christmas. But all of them were back on their feet. And what saved them? It wasn't racial commonality or grievance. It wasn't some philosophical jargon. It wasn't a DEI prep course, and it wasn't a welfare check. It was the fact that a carpenter died 2,000 years ago and changed the world in the process. If you go to almost any food pantry in this country, you will find Christians feeding the poor. If you go to addicts whose families won't even speak to them, like my mom was at a certain point of her life, it's often the Christian ministries that stay with them at their very lowest moments. You'll find Christians sitting patiently beside hospice beds and in recovery rooms and in all the places of the world where people have given up on other people. And this is the moral truth we strive to center in our work in the Trump administration and in this great movement of ours. A true Christian politics, it cannot just be about the protection of the unborn or the promotion of the family, as important as those things absolutely are. It must be at the heart of our full understanding of government. Why do we penalize corporations that ship American jobs overseas? Because we believe in the inherent dignity of human work and every person who works a good job in this country. Why have we worked without the help of Congress to restrict H-1B visas, for example? Because we believe it is wrong for companies to bypass American labor just to go for cheaper options in the third world. We help older Americans in retirement, including by ending taxes on Social Security, because we believe in honoring your father and mother rather than shipping all of their money off to Ukraine. We believe in taking care of the poor, which is why we have Medicaid, so that the least among us can afford their prescriptions or to take their kids to see a doctor. And it's why we are outraged at the injustice of Tim Walz allowing Somalian immigrants to defraud that program to the tune of billions of dollars. It ought to go to Americans, because that's who it's there for. Now, I want to close, my friends, but I have heard you. I know that some of you are impatient at the pace of progress, and my response to that is good. Be impatient. Use that desire for justice for your country as fuel to get involved in this movement in a bigger and better and more powerful way. I know some of you are discouraged by the infighting over any number of issues. Don't be discouraged. Wouldn't you rather lead a movement of free thinkers who sometimes disagree than a bunch of drones who take their orders from George Soros? And I know many of you miss our dear friend Charlie Kirk. So do I. I miss his optimism. I miss his energy. I miss the phone calls where we'd strategize about how to get this or that GOP congressman to get off their ass and do something. But most of all, I miss Charlie's wisdom. I miss his reminder that politics is not a dress rehearsal or a game. We are making decisions that will save our country and give the American people a shot at their dreams again. If you miss Charlie Kirk, do you promise to fight what he died for? Do you promise to take the country back from the people who took his life? Do you promise to help defeat the radicals who cheered his death? Do you promise to honor his memory by having faith in the God he loved? My friends, commit to these things, and I promise you victory. I promise you closed borders and safe communities. I promise you good jobs and a dignified life. Only God can promise you salvation in heaven, but together we can fulfill the promise of the greatest nation in the history of the earth. Merry Christmas, my friends. Let's keep fighting.
Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, ring that notification bell so you know every time I post a new video. If you like what I'm doing over here, you want to show a little extra love and support, be sure to check out our website, crownandthread.com. That's where you can grab all the awesome clothes you see me wearing in all of my videos. Like this one, it says, "He conquered as the lamb, returns as the lion." You know, the Lion of Judah, that would be King Jesus. And these are all handmade by my beautiful wife. We got tons of different designs to choose from, Christian, conservative, sizes ranging from itty bitty extra small to big and hefty 5X for my folks that like to eat. Bunch of different colors. It's all gooder than chicken to me. Of course, I'm biased though, but I'm sure we've got something that you look great rocking or that'll make an awesome gift for someone you love. We also sell some pretty sweet woodworking pieces made by my father-in-law, crosses, hearts, charcuterie boards. Definitely go check those out as well. If you'd like to support in other ways, you can buy me a coffee, hit that thanks button. You can become a member of the Gibson family right here on YouTube. All those links are down below in the description section. Listen, by no means do you have to do any of that stuff. Just showing up and watching my freckle face for a few minutes, that means the world to me, seriously. And I love y'all. I truly can't thank you enough for rocking with me throughout the years. Whether you've been here since I started back in 2017 when I was doing music reactions, or you're a recent subscriber, by the grace of God through my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and with y'all's support, my life couldn't be any better. Seriously. So thank you. And until next time, I'll be praying for you. Godspeed. I'm gone.